Welcome back to episode 4 of the One More K podcast. As usual, my name is Marcus Gnurk and I'm here with Ned Phillips, brought to you by Lekker Nutrition. Good morning, Ned.
Marcus, good morning. We are on episode 4, getting slightly better at the technology of this, but we were not experts
We are
yet.
indeed. How are you doing after your 100K run on the weekend?
Well, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. You were there as I arrived with just 5 minutes to go. Yeah, it was really much fun. I think as we've talked about, micro adventures are a very fun thing to do, and I enjoyed it. Racing the clock to get back my 100K within 14 hours, and then with you to pace me, surprisingly, the body turned around and we did pretty well.
Joined for the last 1 kilometer of your 100K, you were like sludging along. It was really slow, but you managed to do it below 14, and then you had a 5-minute break, something like this. Put your legs up, and then you smashed the 5K in 28 minutes and 29 seconds, right?
Yeah, look, it was, I think if people have listened to this, they know what hopefully we're talking about is just, I decided to run 100K to the start of a park run, a 5K race, and see what I could do a 5K in. My standalone time at the moment is 24 and a half. And the reason was, it was just fascinating to find out. We didn't know. We didn't know if I would run 40 minutes, 25, probably not. And the run through the night was just lovely. It was just amazing just to be out, but with a goal. I couldn't just, go along, but I was slow. I was down to 8 minutes per K. And then, all of a sudden, park run, racing in the mind, let's go. And we had a ball and 28 and a half. And I had some friends who were non-believers who said it would be 30 minutes, but with your help, we got it done, which was amazing.
It's amazing what you can do if you just put a reset, right? If it's 100 kilometers plus 5, it's different than 105 kilometers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice. Okay, so we have a pretty busy show for you guys today, where we're going to be a bit more maybe data heavy. We're going to cover a few things, following up on some of the UTMB news from last week. I think UTMB is going to be part of our show for time being. Then, of course, we have a few more other things about innovation and what's going to happen in this world of trail running in terms of technology, innovation, and general endurance sports. Plus, of course, Ned's weekly drop of wisdom and inspiration, how I call it now. Let's dig in. So, what happened since last week on our UTMB front?
Well, I don't think too much, although why don't we talk about your email and the response that you got? And I think you're onto something. I know it's not exactly UTMB, but it's the idea of what Zach and Killy are saying of bringing fairness to the sport. We discussed last week about our efforts to bring some fairness and some kind of equality to Asian athletes based on the cost. Why don't you give a little update on the kind of email you sent and our efforts?
Yeah, we were grateful for iRunFar to publish initially the article about how much it costs for US athletes to go to Western states and just a yearly budget. And last show we did the same for a Vietnamese-based athlete going to UTMB. So I emailed iRunFar, the US publication, and said, hey guys, just FYI, we put this together for the Vietnamese side. Have a look. And they did come back and found it actually quite interesting how it is. The number is staggeringly different between US and Vietnam if it's GDP per capita normalized or adjusted. And they actually are considering putting out an article of comparing the global costs of trail running. So that's definitely getting picked up also in the US or in the West. And I think it's going to be good for various parties there to just look into the costs.
Yeah. I think iRunFar, without doubt, is the main place to get great ultra running, trail running content. And I think it is like any great headline. There's got to be something clear. And I think it's the number, $156,000. That's the one that gets people's interest. And their response from iRunFar was very thoughtful. I think it looks like we're going to get an article in there. Let's see. You got a response from the editor-in-chief. I did email Zach and Killian. I'm sure they're getting a lot. They haven't replied yet, but they have an email. And we talked about the idea. I said to them, look, as the idea, based on this cost, we need scholarships. We need UTMB. And actually, we're going to talk about how much money UTMB have because you found an article about that. But I think that's the main thing. UTMB just needs to take steps in the right direction. And here's an idea for them. So let's see if I Run Far can publish it. We start a movement.
We will. In the meantime, also our friends from APA in Hong Kong have published a video. What's that all about?
Ryan Blair is the OG of trail running in Asia. Dude is still out smashing it, doing a great job. I knew Ryan when I used to live in Hong Kong. And he's, I think I've said this before, he's put his hands in his pocket. He's put his money where his mouth is. He backed Sun Maya when others wouldn't. He's put together that team. And he put a video out. He's been talking about UTMB. And actually, before this video, only a few months ago, Sun Maya won a race. And there was no prize money. And he didn't know there was no prize money. And he was like, what? Come on, guys, we can do better. So I think you watched the whole video. But the point was there needs to be more prize money. And I think Ryan has the right platform. He represents Stone and Super J, previously Stingray, Sun Maya. Like, he knows the reality. People need to make more money on it. Because that was the thrust of it, right?
Yeah. So basically saying, encouraging UTMB to look into the prize money. There were 2 points, which is it's rather low. So $1,200 for first place. Doesn't even cover travel costs, he said. And it's getting paid quite late. So with delays up to 3 months, which in some countries and some cultures is quite a bit of delay of cash flow. So his major points were, even for the events here in the region of UTMB, make sure you have good prize money in it, giving it a larger enterprise now, and not just giving shoes or just giving an entry to the main event where, you still have to pay money to go there. And then also the second part was the delay in payment where it seemed like it's not getting into the bank accounts on time. So he's also trying to communicate to UTMB how to get better. And I think, like us, we're trying to communicate how to get better. And all of us have ideas and we're voicing it via the social media platforms. And it might reach the French Alps somehow.
Look, I think I used this phrase before. I'm not sure of who it was, but never doubt a small group of committed people can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Yeah.
Right. So we just got to say it. Like, it's just got to be said. Like we know that it can be done better. And it's great to see, whether it's I Run Far, like our little voices, Zach and Killian with their big voices, but it'll change. And, the breakthrough is an Asian athlete's going to win CCC or Western States or UTMB. Then it'll be like, what the hell? What happened here? We'll be like, yep, told you it's coming. And look, 100% that's happening. When? We don't know, but 100% is happening.
Indeed. And moving on to the next point, and you already mentioned it, I think we, on the show, also want to provide some analysis and, in general, a bit of a business angle to this whole world. I mean, I'm sure there are many other podcasts out there who do a great job interviewing athletes, which we also will do. But also I think our role here is to look into the business side of this industry. And so last week we compared some costs of the athlete. I thought, let's look at it from perspective of UTMB actually, because we can sit here easily and just criticize UTMB, but it's also worth understanding actually what's going on behind the scenes and trying to dig up information, right? We want to be open-minded to this, right, Ned?
Hey, strong opinions loosely held. That's what we say.
Exactly.
Right? Strong. There is nothing wrong with making money. Hey, look, I've been an entrepreneur. Marcus used to raise funds and do all of this. Marcus runs a nutrition brand. We're all trying to make money. Nothing wrong with making money. Obviously, it's how you make it and what you do. And in this, I did read this article. It is how much money does UTMB make? How much did they make in 2019? Obviously, 20 was a horrible year. How much more are they making? It's a really interesting article. I must admit, I was surprised how little they were making in 2019-20. They're starting to make a lot. And the end summary, that gentleman I read to the end said, was asked, do you think UTMB, because they're still not profitable, do you think UTMB would have made it without Ironman? And he said no.
Yeah. You did a good summary, so I need to dig in a bit more. Sorry. For the viewers, you just saw the screenshot, the share of this newsletter I digged up. It's written by a guy called Matt Walsh. It's called Trail Mix on Substack. I recommend anyone to also subscribe to that one. It's pretty detailed analysis every other week of what's going on in trail running. And this article really it was written last year in August, so it's a bit, 6-7 months old now. But in any case, it basically spent time analyzing UTMB's financials of the previous years. And the few numbers that stuck out, you already mentioned the highlights.
Oh, well, when Wonder Sports Group, I'd have to Google it. I'm going to say it was high hundreds, 800 million, something like that. Maybe close to $1 billion-ish.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's
when it was sold.
So Ironman might have gotten a very good valuation here if it's only 34.4 million euros right now, given its potential.
100%.
That was the first thing. So not that much. I was surprised. The second thing, it was that the actual revenue of the UTMB group, which is the French part of the UTMB group, so it only includes 20 of the races UTMB group owns. Yeah. And Ironman Group actually owns 36 other races. So we don't know the insights on those financials. So we only know the 20 races that belong to the UTMB Group, where Ironman is a 45% shareholder. So those 20 races, which I believe is the Mont Blanc race and some other races, made 10.2 million in revenue in 2022. Right? It's, as you said, not profitable. They made a loss of 500,000 euros. However, it's still a 291% growth in revenue to 2021. The conclusion, you already said it, it seems like the industry or UTMB in itself is quite in its infancy, and I really thought the numbers might be higher. And the second part is, if I look at the numbers right now, if I were a businessman, I can understand that they are under some financial pressure to make things work.
Yeah, but the other thing I noted, so yes, I think that is a good summary. They're making decent revenue, clearly can make more. We also don't know the entirety. As you say, Ironman owns some of the races, but they have no debt. I think you probably saw that as well. They don't have any debt or loans from what I can tell. So they're under pressure to make it work. There's only two ways in business to make things better: more revenue or less costs. They don't have many staff. They have 70 now, if I remember correctly, which doesn't seem a huge amount. They only had 12 4 or 5 years ago, so the staff has increased, but clearly the demands have increased. But because they don't have debt, then they can navigate this a little bit better than maybe other people. But, I hate to say this. I see why they go with Ironman. Ironman knows how to make money. They probably went to UTMB and said, guys, look, you have a great brand. You have something here. You're making tens of millions. We can turn this into hundreds of millions. Let's go.
Yeah.
And the reality is, from a pure business point of view, is Ironman more likely to turn this into hundreds of millions? Yes, they are. Look, still a long way to go, but going in the right direction.
The other thing that confused me a bit, and I'm a big fan, if you run a business, it has to be clear and clean structure. I'm a big fan of clear and clean governance, whether it's shareholding or ownership, so on. And this looks a bit messy to me, where there is UTMB Group, there's UTMB Asia, UTMB International, UTMB UK, UTMB Iberia, and then there's Ironman Group. So there are essentially 6 different entities involved in this whole thing. Right? And we just talked about the UTMB Group financials. We don't know the Ironman UTMB financials. I don't know how this will play out. How can they keep this all clean and clear when you have 20 races owned by UTMB Group and 36 by Ironman?
I don't think it's going to be clear and clean. I appreciate your desire for clear and clean cap structures. As you know, stuff gets messy. I think this is messy. I think you may have noticed that their daughter owns one of the revenue producing lines of it as well. The one of the Paletti's daughter owns. I'm not sure if it's the timing or the registration app, or it was one of the apps was owned by the daughter, which obviously I'm sure there'll be some revenue share, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, look, one thing I experienced through my business life is you are correct. Keep it clean, because once it gets kind of convoluted and complex, it's very hard to unravel.
Yeah, very true. Let's see. I'm very curious to how this plays out. This might be one of the last. So let's see if we cover UTMB again next week. But again, I can recommend signing up to this newsletter, Trail Mix by Matt Walsh. He puts out some good stats.
He's great.
I'm sure we're going to cover him a bit more, maybe collaborate on a few more things. Moving on to the next topic, and I think this comes back to also some other things happening in the wider industry, and maybe already gives us some kind of outlook where it will go with trail running as well. But I want to cover something I came across called the Enhanced Games. Have you heard of them before?
Man, when you sent me this, right? Okay, I'm going to ask, surely everyone's thought about it. You know, drug use is not great, right? I think we all assume that's great. We also know that testing for drugs is difficult, challenging. We don't know, no one knows, yada, 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 right? I must admit, I have had conversations with people. It's like, imagine there was Olympic Games where no one got tested. Like, imagine there was two sports, the clean and the not clean. And you think, that's silly. It's never going to happen. Then you sent me this. So, Marcus, I'm going to check that what I read and understood is what you think it is. Is this list literally sport with no drug testing and people can do what they like? Is that correct?
Okay, so, yeah, on the surface of it, I think that's what it sounds and looks like. So again, if everyone who's watching, they can see the screen share on YouTube. The idea behind it, and it's backed by some top investors in the world. We're talking Peter Thiel, Christian Angermayer, and Balaji. Balaji is in Singapore, big crypto investor. Christian Angermayer is a big German investor, very big into future human societies. And of course, Peter Thiel is a very large investor in from the Facebook to the Palantir, everything. Really key to the PayPal mafia. So these three guys seems like came together and say, let's look into the world of sports with different perspectives. One of them is the enhancement of sports. And the big statistic they put on the website is that already 44% of athletes use performance enhancements. This might be a wide range. The number is shocking. I'm not sure that's official number, but I can see, given the scandals in the last decades, how enhancements has been used and is used and is going to be used. So they say, why don't we just make it a safe environment where we don't do drug testing and we believe in enhancement and pushing sport forward? They have identified 6 types of sports: athletics, aquatics, gymnastics, strength, and combat. They feel like these sports are, to start with, they single out individual sports, so they don't look into team sports. So they really want to focus on the athlete and say, you are going to enhance yourself and you compete against other enhanced athletes. I'm sure they're going to do some testing. It doesn't say exactly what it is right now, but it's basically a playground for enhancement drugs. The second part they're choosing is about the payment and the salaries of the athletes, which I found very interesting as well. Slightly a bit what we've been talking about UTMB, how, well, the trail running sport in general, salaries are very low. And the shocking number I think they have on their website is how little actually UK, US Olympians get paid. The Wimbledon winner, for example, gets a prize money of $2.5 million, the tennis player. A US Olympian gets $38,000 if they win. So from $2.5 million for Wimbledon to only $38,000 for your Olympian. And if you're a UK athlete and you win a medal, you actually don't get any prize money. So it's quite shocking how actually little money is being made in Olympics, while the IOC and the whole Olympic Games generate the staggering number of $7.6 billion in revenue. Right? It's quite something that just the US Olympics federation makes $760 million in expenses every year, and a fraction of this goes to the athletes. Coming back to the enhancement games, they're saying we are turning this on its head, and we are basically distributing the profits to the athletes, which is probably a key point besides the enhancement side. Quite something.
Really quite something. I mean, we can talk about this all day long. When it says 44%, so caffeine is a performance-enhancing substance. It just is. But it's allowed. Now, if you actually look into it, there is a level of caffeine you're allowed in your body. So you can't drink 20 cups of coffee, apart from the fact it'll make you feel a little crazy. You can't. There's obviously a natural level of testosterone that you're allowed in your body. It's such a complex topic. I think we all have the basic idea that you shouldn't cheat. That's right. Don't cheat. It's straightforward. Don't do it. Obviously, people do. I find it very hard to believe that 44% of all athletes, that's such a wide stat, right, use performance enhancing. Do I drink coffee? I do. Is it performance enhancing? Yes. Does that mean I'm part of that 44%? I hope not. I mean, I'm not an athlete in the same way, right? We're just amateur dudes running around doing our own thing. But as you say, Peter Thiel, these people, there's money, people take drugs, shit happens. I don't know, like, part of me gets this and part of me doesn't want it to happen. It's like, I can't look, but I can't look away.
I understand both sides. I'm trying to be open-minded to it. If you go back in history, they also have a timeline on the website. The Greek Olympians, the Roman gladiators, also used natural herbs, certain type of other, call it extracts, I believe, to enhance their performance. So where do you draw the line? Like back in the days, probably herbs are considered the drugs of the day, whether it's the cocoa leaf, which is coffee, or you probably have other. I mean, I can see how you want to push the boundaries again, and that's where I think they're coming from.
Not even as far back as the Greeks and the Romans. So for any of you cyclists who are listening to this, you're going to know, and I'm going to pronounce this badly, pane aqua. So you may have seen the T-shirt, pan et aqua, bread and water. So in French. Tom Simpson, for any of you who know who Tom Simpson is, he died on top of Mount Ventoux in France in the 60s in the Tour de France. When he died, he was found to have speed, so amphetamines in his back pocket, and whiskey. And that's what they use. They use amphetamines and whiskey. And when asked, the Tour de France, and it's a bit like, Edmund Hillary's, why did you climb Everest? Because it was there. Did he say that or did he not? But when asked, apparently back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, all of the Tour de France cyclists were using amphetamine, speed, whiskey, brandy. And when asked, what? There was some indignant reporter said, what? You mean you don't, you take drugs to do this? And they said, what? You think we race this far on bread and water alone? And the idea is that's natural, bread and water, right? And you can do it on bread and water, but you're not winning. And as, Lance took it to the extreme, I don't know, like, I'm a bit like you. I understand why this type of thing can and will work, particularly in individual sports. Do I want it to happen? Not really. Do I think it will happen? Yes. I don't know. Do I want it to come to trail running? No. I just don't know.
It is the argument those, I guess, investors and the founding members of the enhanced sport games are making is, if you ban it, it becomes illegal, it becomes unsafe. And if you make it inclusive, you include science, you make it safer, and also knowing Peter Thiel, for example, and Christian Angermayer, they are also pushing it towards how can it benefit human society and human future. When you are working with athletes who are pushing the boundaries, you are testing and experimenting on a really performance level, you might do real life research that would benefit humanity in general. And I think that's where I can see the argument for them. I also, knowing their investments, I understand where Balaji and Christian and Peter invest in. They have a lot of ideas about longevity, a lot about immortality. And so I think they're bringing this thinking into the sports.
And look, we're dealing in ultra racing, where people go further than their bodies should allow. In essence, ultra and trail is a sport that they would be interested in, because we are pushing the limits of human endurance. Now, do we want to have ultras that are enhanced and non-enhanced? Oh my God, that sounds too complex.
Yeah, let's see where this goes. I think this is very interesting, just to keep an eye out on this stuff. These things, I think, stay a bit niche for now, and they're putting ideas together. They're launching the bigger concept in May this year, so let's see how this goes. But
and here's the question before we drop off this: if you go to the enhanced games, does the Olympics ban you? So do you get banned from any normal sport once you put your hat in the ring of the enhanced games?
Yes, and very good point. They actually lay out a guide on how to come out as an enhanced athlete. So we have this conversation coming out, for example, as a homosexual. They give a step-by-step guide how to, I think it's 6 or 7 steps, how to come out as an enhanced athlete. Because they feel that many are using enhanced drugs, and many are ashamed of it because of course, certain organizations like the IOC and the governments banning enhanced drugs and banning the career of athletes. So they say, be brave, take the courage, and go all out.
Okay, and so we'll jump back in. And here's the crazy thing, right? You know, when an athlete gets caught normally, and they're like, no, I didn't do it. No, it wasn't me. And there's the denial. And then yet the very famous one, a lady called Nina Kraft. So Nina Kraft won Ironman in 2010 or something. And when she crossed the line, she beat Natasha Badman. So for everyone who listening to this, who is old enough, the great Natasha Badman won Kona 4 times, 5 times. And she beat Natasha Badman. And when she crossed the line, she didn't celebrate. She won Kona. She did not celebrate. She looked beaten, totally beaten. And when asked why, she wouldn't say. And then very quickly she got caught, busted. And she immediately said, I took drugs, I took EPO. I'm incredibly sorry. I should never have done it. And it was a terrible way that it all came out. It came out in the worst way. She shouldn't have done it. Yada, yada, yada. She's unfortunately passed away at a very young age. And it really destroyed her mental health because, no one should cheat, but things happen. And we all deserve second chances as humans. And to your point about saying it, saying that if you're in the enhanced games, it's not easy, right? Society is rough. Society can be rough. Social media can be rough. This is endless discussion. The enhanced games. Wow.
Yeah, it's very interesting for me as well, because this is, again, a bit of a detour, but this is part of a new movement where it's also against centralized large organizations. And again, knowing these investors, knowing Peter Thiel, knowing Balaji, knowing Christian, they're also large into other parts of the innovation echo chambers, you can call it for now. Let it be crypto, let it be decentralized organizations. It is moving forward. How do you democratize, in this case, this Olympic process, take it away, the power and the money from the IOC, putting it back into the hands of the athlete, whether it's via hands or not hands. But I think the other underlying message is, how do you create new organizations that are more fair towards athletes? I mean, take the drugs aside. It's an interesting concept here where they say IOC is just too powerful, make too much money, nothing gets shared with the athletes and the community. Let's disrupt this. And I think that's just happening in many other parts of the world, whether it's in finance or whether it's in governments, whether it's in nothing. I don't want to talk too much about this because it's a Triathlon podcast, but this is interesting, an underlying current to this industry.
And we should move on because we could talk about this all day. They have interest, they have an idea, but because they have money, this is not something that will just go away.
No, I agree.
This is going to happen.
Moving on, talking about money, we have a new triathlon concept out there, which I thought it's worth highlighting quickly. It's called T100 Triathlon. I was not aware it happened, but then I saw it on my Twitter and I dig into it. What is T100 Triathlon, Ned?
100K, so they've broken it down, so it's not as long as a half Ironman, it's longer than Olympic. It's this crossover distance that you can race repeatedly, and it comes down to the same thing. Decentralization, taking power away from Ironman or the Olympic triathlon, getting the athletes, eight cities around the world, going from Singapore to Miami to different places. And look, you're going to put, our sports, whether it's triathlon, trail, ultra, there's no money in reality, right? Anybody that's going to put money back in the pockets of people is going to work. And I think endurance is growing, money people want. Yeah, I think this T100, if they put enough weight behind it. We saw what Macca and his team did with Super League, which got pretty cool, and people are really into it, this short, more media-savvy form of racing. I don't think they listed all the athletes who were going to it, but they seem to say it was the top people.
Yeah, they say 20 female and 20 male are competing on this. It's $7 million prize money involved, back to the money part. So 2 kilometer swimming, 80 on the bike, and then 18 running, so 100 kilometers in total, as you say. Quite something. I mean, that is competing with Super League, right? I mean, I was wondering about this. Is this something that's on the same direction?
Yeah, look, that it's media savvy, that it's short, it's sharp, it's to the point. To a degree, but, Super League is much shorter, right? It is really and repeated stuff. It's like swim, bike, run, all this type of stuff. I think what we're seeing here, whether it's the enhanced game, T100, Super League, UTMB's live stream, it's going to come down to the quality of the coverage and do people want to watch it? And that will generate money. Like, I'm interested, where's the 7 million coming from? Are they hoping to recover it? How much, they said 7 million money to the athletes, but who's funding all of this? Setting up these events is a lot. And I think that, this is the great thing about our sports. We don't get to play at Wembley or in the Super Bowl, but we can run at UTMB. We can compete against our heroes. So I think in these T100s, they're going to make the money from the regular people racing on the same course as their heroes.
Yeah. What I found interesting about this development is that what does it mean for trail running? Because arguably triathlon Ironman is a bit of ahead of trail running. It's bigger. It's been going on for more decades than trail running. So I thought, what does it mean? What can we learn from this for the trail running world? What do you think?
Look, the top, is it, I think we talked about this last time. Do people want to race in races where the superstars are? So T100, the top 20, so the famous triathletes are there. Do we want to, are we more likely to race in those than a race just against regular people? I think people are. I think we are. I think we like the idea. So in trail running, obviously UTMB is huge, and there's the top 50 and, up front, and then there's the top 10 with Killian and Courtney and Tom Evans and Zach Miller. And we're like, oh, wow, we saw Zach in Chamonix. This is so cool. But do we make it even stronger, right? We take the top 10 and top 20 and really package them up as, I don't want to say a media circus, but to a degree, it's going to come down to content and media. What do we learn? If I was a top 10 trail runner, I would be absolutely delighted with this, because it just means that more and more is coming our way.
Can't agree more. So the other thing that happened this week was a launch of the Apple Vision Pro. And I thought also it's worth putting it into this podcast, or this episode at least, to just look into technology development of this world. It might not seem too obvious, but what do you think? Is there any impact on trail running by the Apple Vision Pro?
Even though I ran a tech company, I'm not the most tech savvy human on earth. There always is. It's unexpected, right? So, I mean, have you watched the videos? What have you seen of it in terms of what it could do?
So I think there are two use cases being creative here. I think there's one as you being an athlete, and one you being a spectator, being in the audience. You being an athlete, I think it's pretty obvious looking at what in cycling is happening. You on your home trainer, you're going into Swift, you're going to cycle with the virtual crowd. There might be at some point this merger of you being on your treadmill and you're going to put on the goggles and run in Chamonix or in Western States. I think that might happen. I think at the moment, the hardware is not yet there to make it easy to run in it, because you actually, unlike cycling, you're not that static. You quite have to use many body parts. And I don't think, from what I can see at least, it's more for walking and sitting. It's not yet for running and jumping and whatnot. So it takes some time, but I do think it will get there eventually, where you are able to just run through the trail, if you like or not. But I think what could happen more in the near term is being a spectator, where I saw videos, for example, of watching Formula One. You have a bird's eye view on the course. So you can see, on the track, you can see the Formula One cars driving around, and you get all the statistics of the drivers and whatnot. And you don't anymore just see this TV screen, where you also have already some kind of cool camera angles and so on. But in this case, you can, through the goggles, see the track in front of you and see everything moving around. Taking to trail running, it could be quite cool, given all the drones and everything that's going on right now, that you see the Chamonix, UTMB, Western States, whatnot course, and you can see all the runners running around, and you have like this helicopter bird's eye view on what's going on alongside 100 miles. So it's really more the fan engagement, where I can see fan engagement, audience engagement, where, given all the live streaming that's going on, there might be an application coming up soon.
And also the idea that we could get those stats as well, their heart rates, their power, their view of what they're seeing in the track, how they're looking at it, where they're looking. Yeah. I mean, look, no doubt that, comes back to the content side of it. We can't live without Apple. Whether we're on the trail or in the house, you've got to have some tech on you.
Have you watched the Hunger Games movies?
I have.
How about seeing similarities with trail running in the Hunger Games? Not that I want to see people die. I'm not saying this at all. I'm saying the spectacular events that are happening in the movies.
But look, Backyard is the Hunger Games. Backyard is basically the Hunger Games, right? It is, in the end of the day, only one's going to live, right? So interestingly, there is an ultra in New York based on a famous film from the 80s or 90s, I can't remember the name now, where it's like a film where people have to escape in New York and they have to run through subways and come out the other side. And it's all around Manhattan. It's like 60 miles and it's at night and they have to do these things. And, look, Barclay Marathon started based on a prison escape when the man who shot Martin Luther King escaped from Brushy State Mountain Penitentiary and in 48 hours only got 8 miles. And Laz said, in 48 hours, I could get 100 miles, which he couldn't. But the point is that these crazy adventures, I don't know if you've seen, but in London, some dude sponsored by Lululemon is going to run the lines. He's going to run the length of all the underground lines in 8 consecutive days. It's about 500K altogether. So he's going to run the length of the Central Line, the Northern Line. So this idea of Hunger Games, where there are some crazy events using endurance, that we don't die, but whoever kind of lasts the longest or survives the longest. I mean, look, who hasn't watched an episode of Survivor and thought, it's pretty cool, right? Like, I've always wanted to be on Survivor. I don't know if everyone else has, but, that Hunger Games idea is kind of quite human, and I think we would all like to do it at some point.
For sure. I mean, I think it comes down to the whole concept of gamification, entertainment. We see this more and more, and this idea of fan engagement. That's going to be exciting. On the flip side of it, the Instagram post that stuck out this week was from a trail runner called Francesco Papi, which I believe he's very well known in the trail running world. And I thought it's worth mentioning here as well. So everyone who's watching, you can see it on the screen share. I'm going to read out the post, so pardon the lengthy part now, but basically he's saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I have sometimes, to some extent, contributed to the toxic narrative that surrounds our sport. For example, carefully selecting photos to post on Instagram where my body looked stronger, fitter, more adherent to an ideal that somehow we have of what an athlete's body should look like, because I've gained confidence from appearance instead of training and performance, contributing to an idea that athletes' bodies should look a certain way, that skinnier equals stronger. He also says, we should finally get rid of the association between body look and performance that has caused so much physical and physiological issues to so many athletes, who bring the scars of an unhealthy relationship with themselves and their bodies for their whole athletic career and even beyond that. Athletes who still think they have to earn the right to eat a pizza by running a certain amount of miles, who feel like they don't fit in or don't belong to a certain environment just because their body size doesn't correspond to an ideal or to the exact look of the pro athlete who just posts a picture on Instagram. Self-acceptance and body images are pretty hard topics, and struggling or needing help doesn't mean we are weak or less worth as people and athletes. And basically, he says at the end of it that he has a picture here of him looking good, and then the next picture is of him looking rather skinny and, I would say, unhealthy. Yeah. And so the last sentence he says is, let's be kind to ourselves and let's all contribute to change this narrative. So what do you think of that, Ned?
I mean, super powerful, right? Like, this is another complex, long topic. Why do we run? Why do we compete? We do it for fun. We do it for many different reasons. I think his post was very self-aware, right? That he's an athlete, so he's got to post the right pictures. But why is he posting the right pictures, right? And what is it for? I think he was maybe almost unnecessarily hard on himself, because it's part of the game, right? But what is the game? Is the game destructive? And, we've seen it across many sports: mental health, body weight, body image. I followed a lot Alberto Salazar's controversy, where allegedly, he made regular comments, particularly on female athletes, on their body weight, body look, body image, whether that was correlated to speed. And we know that's damaging, right? I think it's just a really difficult topic, and it's impressive he wrote it. And here's my takeaway. Everyone should be humans, be kind, be nice. Whether you look great or crap, it's okay, as long as the person's happy.
I agree. I mean, that's why people are really like Courtney Dauwalter, because she is a very natural champion. So it seems. I mean, we also don't know what's going on in her mind, and we also don't know if she's selecting images that want to portray a certain idea of her eating pizza. Who knows? But I think it is good to be self-reflective and create awareness of how you think and how you feel about yourself.
Marcus, I lost you, man. Marcus,
yes,
I lost you from where you said Courtney. It froze completely.
Okay, I will try again. I was saying that's why people really appreciate Courtney, because she seems to be genuine and real about who she is and how she is. Of course, we also don't know if she's selecting certain images and certain storylines to have a certain narrative shared publicly about herself. There might be things going on.
But then again, yeah, but we all share story. I mean, look, and this is the hard thing. Like, we don't tell everybody all the stories of all of our lives, right? Like, everybody, when somebody says, how's your day? You don't tell them everything. You select the best story, right? Oh, yeah, I had a good day. I did this. You don't tell them the crap. Or you might tell them the crap. You might say, oh, man, that person was rude to me. Or, that person did something to me. We all select stories. It's part of being human, right? So I think, Francesco's post it's super complex. And also, this is my old cynical man in the corner stuff. The reality is that, it was simpler before social media and the internet, because you didn't have to tell everybody, hey, I love this meme. I love this thing I read a long time ago. I'm so happy for Facebook. Now I don't have to call all of my friends and tell them I'm going to bed tonight to say goodnight to them. Because you don't need to tell everybody you're going to bed every bloody night or what you had for dinner. But in the same token, if you're an athlete and you want sponsorship, we talked about Zach Miller talking about sharing your story. Your story is your authentic story. So it is complex. Look, I would like to think Courtney just says it as it is. She eats pizzas, drinks beer, eats candy, wears basketball shorts. Courtney's famously not on Strava, right? When asked, what's your training plan? She says the same thing every time. I just run. Wake up and run. So, yeah, look, I think Francesco's post was great. More power.
I mean, I think in this case, honestly, to be honest with you, I think it's not too bad to inspire others to do sports. I feel there are many other worse things in life you can do or to be inspired to do. In this case, being out there in nature, running, I think it's something really encouraging and inspiring. I know other people do other posts, whether it's pop stars or whatnot, creating certain images which I think are more damaging to society. And in the sport context, I do think that the bottom line is pretty positive for all of us to be out there and do sports, whether it's running or cycling and whatnot. Whatever picture you select, as long as you inspire someone to be healthy and active, I think it's a pretty good thing to do.
Okay, but what do you? So here's an interesting one, right? Like, what again? Courtney watching, and I don't know why. I don't know why, but when Courtney is like at an aid station and she's trying to, she's like being sick from just her stomach, GI images. Like sometimes the hard images, right? We always get shown in films the somebody who is broken, somebody who can't go on, We want both, right? We want the beautiful shots of somebody running through the mountains, or we want the, oh my God, somebody in pieces because they can't make it out the other side. Yeah, look, I think this idea, be authentic, right? Be you, right? That is that, right? Look, as we know, I use running on LinkedIn to just talk a little bit about startups and whatever. I didn't really think about it. I just do it and I record it and I say it. Do people like it? I don't know. Some do, some don't. I'm trying to be authentic. I'm just trying to say it as it is. Is running relevant to everything in everybody's life? No, but I just like saying it, and it is what it is. So yeah, just be authentic. Say it. And if you have a shitty photo of yourself, I'm lucky. I don't look like Tom Cruise, so all the photos are relatively shitty. So it is what it is.
Given your age now, this might be personal, but do you think you've been now? I mean, you've been doing how many years of trail running, endurance sports? How many?
My first was when I was 16, so that's 40 years, but I didn't do 10 years between 18 and 26, so 30 years.
And would you say right now that you are primarily healthy?
Am I what healthy?
Just in general, are you healthy?
I am going to say yes.
Good.
There's a caveat that my weakness is sugar. So I eat cake and biscuits and shit I should not eat. And you can't outrun if you eat too many custard creams or chocolate biscuits or cake. I try not to. Am I as healthy? Do I feel in good shape for a 56-year-old? Yes. Should I eat less crap and do more strength training? Yes. But I am very satisfied. It's the wrong word. What am I? I'm at peace with where I'm at.
I mean, you're running 100 kilometers overnight. That it says it all without any major problems, damages, issues. I think that should be a good indicator how healthy you are. And that's what I'm trying to say is I'm wondering how many years it takes to get the data on how this sport could be damaging to certain people. Right?
We talked about this, and this is the thing, right? So is it healthy to not sleep all night and run 100K? I don't know. Maybe not. Is it amazing for my soul? Yes. Do I think I'm going to keep doing this forever? Yes. So I think one thing. So I don't know. Like, will it help me live forever? No. But I'd rather drop down dead a few years earlier and keep running crazy stuff. And here's the thing. I feel so lucky that ultra distance running doesn't go away as you get older. Like, I still think I can keep doing this. And I think that I do this birthday run, which is, I've changed it. I think I told you I've changed it. So when I was 40, I decided to do 100 minus my age. So 100 minus 40 was 60. So I've run 60K. Then when I was 41, it would be 59K. So when I was 70, it would be 30K. The idea is I would be able to keep doing it. And a few months ago, it suddenly struck me that I can do that. Like, I'm pretty sure at 80, I can run 20K. So I was like, F this, I'm not going to carry on doing that. So I am 57 in April, so I'm going to run 57K. And I'm 58. And so when I'm 70, I'm going to run 70K. When I'm 80, I'm going to run 80K. And I know, is it realistic that when I'm 99, I can run 99K? Absolutely not. But I'm damn well going to try. And so I think the beauty of this sport. The other day, an 80-year-old, you ready for this? The 80-year-old did 100 miles, 27 hours.
Wow.
Not a bad time. 27 hours.
That's significant.
Can be done, man.
Who are the 5 people you want to have on the podcast? Let's shout it out to the universe. Let's share it, whoever listens, and someone will respond eventually. But tell me, who are the top 5 people you would love to have on this podcast?
Are we going 5 each?
Yeah.
Okay. So we had not prepared for this. So everyone knows my number one. There's no doubt about that. Is the legend, the man, Lazarus Lake. He's about to walk across America. So he is about to set off for a walk across America. He's been training. He's done it before. So I would like Lazarus Lake. I'm not going to put these in order, but definitely I would love to get Laz on. I would like Alexander Sorokin, who is the current record holder for 24-hour running. I think he would be absolutely amazing. I would like Sam Harvey. I think Sam has this unbreakable mind, spirit, ability to do crazy stuff that is unmatched. Obviously, there's the obvious ones, Courtney Killian, but I'm going to go a little bit more kind of left field. I would like to get. He strikes me as a bit of a cantankerous old man, but there we go. Janos Kouros, the man who said all of it, would be amazing. And then I'm going to throw this in. We can't have him because he passed away. But Al Howie. Al Howie was a drunk Scotsman who emigrated to Canada. And are you ready for this? If you guys think it was impressive, I ran a 100K to a 5K race. Al Howie used to run from Canada to America to take part in 6-day races. He famously would run 2,000K to a 6-day race, run a 6-day case and run home, while drinking beer, 12 cans of beer a day on the way. You have to read his book. So if I could have anybody from the past, it would be Al Howie. So that's my 5. Marcus,
nice.
Yours.
I'm going to add on a few more names. I mean, everyone you mentioned, of course, is on my list as well. I would love to also get Scott Jurek on the podcast because of his, I mean, he's, for me, one of the first ones to have really put the sport out there. His work he's been doing with many brands. And just to also hear his perspective as a veteran, I'm very curious to see how he has been the sport changing. I do like to bring Jan Frodeno on as well. Me as a German, I've got a bit of a crush on him, just given his really, I think, thoughtful approach to life. And I think there are names out there we don't even know. So I would love to put on some people that are from China, the top Chinese runner, just to understand what's going on there. Yeah, just my brief list. But of course, everyone you mentioned is top up there as well.
Scott Jurek won Western States 7 times in a row. I just don't think that's happening again. What a total legend. And Jan Frodeno, I heard him he sounds just amazing. I heard him on a podcast apparently when he left. And, he's married to Emma Snowsill, who also won a gold medal in Olympics. Apparently, when he left Sydney, he kept on his gold medal under his shirt. And when he went through the beeper, like the scanning, they beeped. And he said, "Do you have anything to declare?" And he said, "Yes, my gold medal." What a legend.
Yeah, that's a man. That's a man. Nice. Well, let's see. We have a few more episodes to get there. I'm sure we'll get there, but we're excited about the journey. All right, Ned, are you ready for your drop of wisdom and inspiration for this week?
I am indeed. I am ready to go.
Take it away.
All righty. It's called Enough this week. Enough. How do you know when it's enough? When you are tired? When you are really tired? When you can't go on? When your friends tell you to stop? Or when you pass out? That's the thing. It's not about knowing. If it was an exact place, you wouldn't go near it because it really hurts. The best part is we don't know where that line is. If we ever get to it, we simply push the line further out of reach for next time. It's an endless game. I love nothing more than watching the greats push that limit. We can see them make that decision in real time. Johnny Brownlee, leading into the final 500 meters of the Triathlon World Champs. You can actually see his eyes roll back. His legs wobble like a newborn baby giraffe. He bangs into the barrier. It's a slow motion car crash. Big bro Ali comes round the corner, racing. He stops, puts his shoulder under Johnny's arm, lifts, pushes, propels towards the line. And when they get there, Ali pushes him over the line ahead of him. Johnny collapses, almost unconscious, to the ground. You can see it on YouTube. Dylan Bowman, Debo, unraveling at the aid station at Hard Rock. He was done, beyond done. The look in his eye, he had gone way past his limit. The aid station volunteer says, "No, you're not stopping on my patch. Stand the F up and get out of here." You have to listen to Debo tell the story. It's gold. You can listen on his podcast. Sam Harvey. What are we, Sam? We are big boys. Long time coming. There's a long run, and there's 101 yards at Backyard, 677K. Only to take your mate to the win. Sam took out the shovel, dug a hole so deep I don't think he could see into it. But he went, and he went, and he went. He's got a well of reserve that's deeper than deep, and he did it to come second, not to win. And you can watch it. It's literally a movie. And of course, the OG, Julie Moss, the young lady who really made Ironman when she collapsed in the finishing chute at Ironman Hawaii, only to be passed for the win. She was so out of it, she didn't even know she'd been passed. It was on TV. Before the internet, it blew up the TV, as they say. Debo, Brownlee, Harvey, Julie Moss. You can watch and listen. Real life art. It's not about going that deep every time, but when people do, it's amazing to watch because it's undefined, unstructured, scary, and energizing. If they can do that, what can we do? We can do anything, right? Lace up, run until your limit approaches, and then keep going till you have to stop, and then don't. See you out there. Ned.
Muchas gracias, Senor Ned.
And I thank you, and I would say if any of those names, like the Julie Moss, she was a student doing a thesis on endurance. She'd never really done much. She'd run a bit of a marathon. She goes to Ironman Hawaii just as a student doing a thesis, and she's in the lead. Because it was such a small sport in the 70s. And literally she collapses to her knees in the finishing chute. And no one's allowed to help her, and she can't get up. And every time she gets up, she falls over. I mean, it's crazy to watch. And a lady called Catherine Switzer, I think it is, comes past her for the win. She doesn't even know. Amazing, you know. It's not about going out there and glorifying passing out every time, but sometimes just to see it, all of those things, whether it's Sam Harvey or Dylan or Johnny, go watch. They're amazing.
Can't agree more. Thank you, Ned. It's been a pleasure for episode 4. I'm wishing you a great week ahead, and we're going to see you next week again.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.